Now, when it comes to adventure riding, over the past 3 decades, BMW Motorrad has continued to define the dual sport riding category. Back in 1980, they launched their first GS, an air-cooled 800cc R80, basically a big dirt bike for the street. Fast forward now some 30-odd years to behold the flat twin-powered R1200 GS. At the heart of this machine is BMW's classic fuel-injected 4-stroke boxer power plant mated to a single-disc dry clutch and a 6-speed gearbox. Soaking up the bumps in the suspension department, up front the R1200 uses BMW's adjustable single-spring telelever fork, while out back the bike's die-cast aluminum single-sided swing arm sports BMW's multi-adjustable paralever system and shaft final drive. Heated grips and center stand are standard, but you can also order up trick features like ABS, automatic stability control, tire pressure control. There's even an onboard computer and electronic suspension adjustment. In the brochure and on the showroom floor, it all looks good. But how does the R1200 GS work in the real world? Well, here now is this week's guest road tester, Jeff Kay.
So Jeff, we kind of threw you for a loop this morning. I know you were planning on riding the LT, but instead we threw you on the GS at the last minute. What was your first impression when we rolled it out of the trailer?
Well, you know what? I mean, it is my first time on this bike, and it's an absolute classic machine. And I think that there's a reason that it's a classic. It's because it's the motorcycle that can go anywhere and do anything. I mean, it does it all, and it's got everything. The motor. I had this thing down to less than 60 kilometers an hour in 6th gear just to see if I could get it to lug. And you know, you roll the power on and it's all there. You know, it's just got a wide power band, so really regardless of what speed you're at or what gear you're in, you know, you grab a handful of throttle and it's all there. So it's a very user-friendly machine.
So let's talk about that motor for a moment. It's horizontally opposed. It's been around for donkey's years, as my dad would like to say. What are the feelings, the sensations you get as you ride this bike from the motor standpoint? Is it loud, quiet?
Well, for me it was sort of counterintuitive, because you think that a big twin cylinder like that is going to vibrate. You know, that boxer, you know, the back and forth reciprocating pistons. But it's not. It's a very smooth motor. It's got a beautiful sound. It's got like a nice bottom end kind of a gurgle, rumble to it. Yeah, you know, it's like it sounds the way a motorcycle motor should sound.
Right.
And you can feel it as you're riding, and you can hear it to a degree, but it's in a very pleasant way.
Runs nicely. Shifts.
Yeah, shifting is, it's kind of like clicking a ballpoint pen. I mean, it's just, the transmission is tight, the throw is very short, it's very economical. It doesn't take much effort to do.
Right.
You know, shifting up, shifting down, so it's one less thing that you have to worry about, you know, because it happens easily. You don't have to worry about missing a shift. You can concentrate on other things.
Right.
Know? So it's great that way.
Dual discs, ABS, brakes. How'd you find the stopping power?
Well, you know what? The other thing I like too is some of the high-tech suspension on the front end, so that even if you're grabbing a real handful of brake, it really doesn't dive. So it's very progressive, it's smooth, and very level. So if you need to get stopped in a hurry, easy to do. Similarly, with sitting up high like that, if you're doing the quick turning radiuses, you're on some gravel and stuff, it makes you feel very secure that you're not gonna lose the front end, or you're not gonna push the back wheel out. So it's the braking is also just excellent.
How did you find the suspension and the handling of the bike itself through the corners? And we had some tight, rough roads today. So how'd you find the suspension?
Well, that's an interesting question, because it's got 3 different settings. You've got a comfy setting, you've got a normal setting, and then you've got the sports setting. And you can notice the difference. On the comfy setting, it's spongy, but again, the engineering is such that the handling's not affected, even though the ride is softer. And then you know, if you dial it up really just with a quick press of the thumb to the sport setting, you feel the suspension tighten up, firm up. It changes the character of the handling, you know, not dramatically, but enough so that you know, it's worth changing depending on the road conditions.
How did you find the cockpit layout and more importantly the mirrors themselves? Just where your hands fall for the switch gear. This little compound here. What'd you think?
Well, you know what? I mean, if you look at it, it's almost like the mirrors are kind of low tech, right? I mean, there's nothing fancy about these mirrors, but they're classic and they work.
Right.
They're up, you know, high enough so you can see, wide enough so you got a good range of vision behind you. The instrument cluster, again, very simple. You know, you've got a little digital readout here. The TAC, you know, easy to see. Speedometer, it's all right there. I mean, it's utilitarian. There's not a whole lot of fancy stuff there, but there's everything you need.
Jeff, you had a big grin on your face when you got off the bike. Was there anything you didn't like?
You know what? I'm really hard pressed to find anything that I don't like about it. I think it's just a great bike. Like I said, it's a classic bike, and I think it's a classic bike for a reason.
Okay, well, I'm going to take that as a thumbs up.
Yeah, absolutely a thumbs up.
Nice job.